Alright, welcome back guys, or welcome to this your first time here. I'm Vision here at Blind Entertainment, bringing you guys another video. Today I'm giving you guys my review for The Walking Dead Season 10, Episode 9, Squeeze. Now if The Walking Dead is something you're interested in, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and hit that bell icon. That would miss no more Walking Dead content from me moving forward. And you go find my playlist to all my other reviews for The Walking Dead Season 10 down in the description box and get all caught up. But let's begin. We start off this episode with our group still in the cave, and you got Carol who looks up and sees Alpha staring down at her. I really liked how they added this in because they kind of goes back to the beginning of the season where you had Carol looking down at Alpha when they first met back in episode 1. So I kind of liked how they mirrored that interaction with these two, only having the roles swapped. So I did like that. However, the one thing that I really didn't like and have to take points off right away is how Carol screamed up at her. Now, I understand why it was there. However, it was so cringy for me. I just couldn't. Like, it was just so cringy. Again, I understand why they had it there, but it just was too much cringe for my taste that it just took me at the moment. So I gotta take off points there. But then you got the group trying to figure out a way out, and Magna tries to climb out of the cave. Now, I feel like everybody knew that was a dumb idea, but I feel like it's something that at least someone would have tried realistically. So I'm glad that they added it in, because again, realistic situations, someone would at least attempt to do that. So I like the idea that they kept that in, because I think it adds just more realism to the situation. But then you got the group, again, trying to figure out how to get out, and they notice that there's a bunch of rocks, so they use those to get across. They each use them to get across. However, as they're getting across, you got Kelly who nearly trips and hurts herself. So I really like that. That added some bit of realism. And you got them who all get across. You got Daryl who has Jerry cut off a Walker arm and use it as a torch. I really like that idea. At first, I didn't know where he got the torch from. I had to rewatch it actually to see that he cut the arm off. It was just so dark that I couldn't see what was going on the first time around. But they all get across the little gap there to get across the walkers. Now, I really like that. I feel like, though, they added that in at the last minute, because I didn't remember seeing that at the end of the last episode, which kind of took me at the moment, but at the same time, it's not a big deal. I understand that they needed something to do, so I kind of give it a pass. I'm kind of mixed on it, but it's kind of meh to me. But you got them who all get across, and they have Daryl who uses the Walker arm torch as a way. And I like how he added this in, where he uses the flame to try to see where oxygen and air is coming from. Just subtle. Didn't need to have any dialogue. And if you are smart enough to know that, you caught on to it. So I really liked how they added that in. That's just another thing that I feel like is realistic and just added a little bit more subtlety to the storytelling. Then you got Magna who blames Carol for getting him in the situation. Now I like that they add this in there. It's realistic, and it is Carol's fault that they're stuck in there. And they bring back up that Carol's claustrophobic, which was talked about back in season 1, so I really liked how they just brought that back in for this moment. It was necessary and added more to the storytelling, so I did like that, and liked how someone called out Carol for being reckless. It was definitely needed, so I like that. But then you got her and Daryl who sit down to have a chat. Everybody's catching their breath, and this is a moment where I kind of got annoyed, because it's like you feel like they had this sense of urgency. However, they take this time to sit down and rest. I understand it, but at the same time, it's like you're in the situation. You feel like they should be just keep moving. No time to sit down and rest. So to me, it just kind of took me at the moment. But I did like the conversation between these two characters, and how Daryl's saying how he doesn't even know if he can trust her anymore, and that they're fighting for their future, not revenge, and that she needs to stop keeping things from him again and to talk to him about these things. So I did like that. But again, just felt like the lack of urgency here just hurt the scene. I understand needing to rest, however, it just took me at the moment. And then you got Magna who's going off investigating the area, searching for ways out, I guess, and gets attacked by a walker, or whisper actually. And this is another thing where I get annoyed about, because they have her get attacked and then go straight to commercial. I wish they had not done that. I hate when the show cuts like that, because then you come back and they're fighting and they're done and they just run off. I feel like they should have cut it and gone to commercial after they killed all the Whisperers, because that just kind of felt out of the moment to me. But I did like that. It felt like it was a little too dark during those moments, and they shouldn't have cut it the way they did. Now then we get to the moment where they have to get through this very tight space. Now this is where the episode picked up a bit for me, because I feel like, again, they picked up the urgency and it was very well done. So you got them going for this little like crevice area, kind of like a little tunnel. One thing I liked about this episode is it reminded me of the latest movie 1917, where you had those two soldiers going for out of trenches. I really liked that. It kind of reminded me of that, so I really liked that. It gave me feelings of that, so I did enjoy that. But you got them going for it. Daryl gets out first and is helping them all get through. And you got Carol, who ends up going for a panic attack due to being claustrophobic. And I like how they add this in here. Again, realistic and needed. My one con, however, and it might not be a con, it could just be me not knowing much about claustrophobia. I am a bit myself, but this just felt like Melissa McBride's acting here felt a tad bit over the top to me. So I didn't really like it. Maybe it was correct in a way, but to me, her acting just felt way too over the top and just took me at the moment. But we get them moving more out, and everybody's starting to get out of this little hole and crevice. But you got walkers and whispers who end up attacking, and Jerry's the last one in there, and he has to get out. They get everybody else out, but he ends up getting stuck. Now, I like how they add this in there. It added more tension and more suspense and urgency to the moment, so I really like that. But they're able to get Jerry out. He has to take out his armor just to get through. But he ends up getting bitten on his boot. From what we can tell, he didn't get bit on the skin, so he should be good. However, I feel like this is a moment here where someone should have been bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if later on something happened where it was revealed that someone was bit in this situation. So I think that that would be something cool to see added in. Whether they do it or not, it doesn't matter, but it does feel cool. But they get Jerry out, and they end up stopping for 2 minutes again. Felt like they cut off. Should have been more urgent, but I understand why. But again, just took me out of the moment for a minute. But then you got them moving, and then Magna nearly falls to her death, and they find another large bit of the herd. So they need to find another way out. So I really like how they ended that scene there. It, again, added more urgency, and at the same time was more suspenseful and more realistic. Then we got Aaron, who finds a little mine shaft and a way to escape. So him and Magna begin clearing it out, and we get some back and forth between the two of them. And throughout the episode, we saw Magna, who's kind of in a rush to get back home. And so she kind of tells him that she wants to just get home to make things right with Yumiko because of their fights they've been having lately. Now, I like that. I was annoyed with what they did earlier in the season, but if they fix it up this half, I'll probably look back and be okay with it, but we'll have to wait and see. But while they're doing that, Daryl notices that Carol is gone, and he goes back to look for her and realizes that she took some dynamite that was left behind there by the Whispers. And he goes and finds her and stops her from lighting the dynamite because he tells her that it'd kill herself and everybody else. And he convinces her, you got to tell me these things. You can't just do these things anymore. And I did like the back and forth there. This was better than the earlier one because you still had that sense of urgency, while at the same time you could take for a few minutes to breathe here. So I did like that. And I think it added on to Carol and Daryl's relationship here and what Carol's been going through. So I did really enjoy that. Just added in much more needed stuff with Carol. Even though I didn't like what they did with Carol and still think that it was annoying and ridiculous, I understand why they did it from a storytelling perspective. I'm okay with it. Just hope that they kind of turn a different direction with Carol moving forward. Because at this point, I'm just getting more frustrated with it than enjoying her storyline, because it's just been more annoying to me than it has for a while. But while they're doing that, Carol ends up dropping the dynamite as they escape, and the whole cave begins to cave in, and Jerry has to hold up an opening because as they were doing this, they were able to get an opening, and Kelly and Aaron make it out first, while Jerry has to hold it open while the others escape. And you got Magna and Connie go back to help Daryl and Carol get out of the cave, while you got the other two who are holding off Whispers up top. Everybody's able to make it out. However, as they're getting out, you have Magna and Connie who end up being trapped in the cave. Now, I really like how I added that in and had them, not make it out, because I feel like you needed something like that to happen, because of that, it would just kind of put Carol's actions as not being that dramatic, and I think you needed that little bit of dramatic just to push her character in a different direction this half, and I think that Magna and Connie being stuck in there, especially with being someone close to Daryl, is gonna help this half of the story. So I did like that they did that. It was something different, and I do not believe that they're dead because I feel like that would just be a cheap way to kill them off. So I do believe that they did survive somehow, and we're gonna see him. Even at the end of the episode, Daryl heads off to go find another opening to get into the cave. So yeah, I do believe that they're alive and did make it out. But I'm just curious to see how long they'll hold off on revealing that. But then you got Daryl, who after it all collapses in, he tries to get back in, like I said, but Aaron stops him and Kelly stops him, saying that they have to leave because the explosion will draw more people in and that they can't help them if they're dead as well. So I did like that little line added in there as well. And you got Carol's asking Daryl to, you were right, please tell me you were right. And I like how Carol or Daryl's just like, doesn't say anything, just walks away. Because I feel like to some extent he's kind of saying what all of us are feeling. So I really like how they did that. And I just like how he just walked off. It was something subtle and something that would be realistic. So I really liked how they did that. So meanwhile, we got Alpha, who returns to the Whisperer camp to inform Beta and Gamma that the enemy has found their horde. Now, Gamma immediately asks if they found it, and Beta's more worried about the fact that he believes that they overestimated the enemy. Now, Alpha's still kind of, playing it cool and everything, and she decides to send Gamma to the border, believing that there's some kind of spy or something, and wants to send a message to the enemy as well, saying that they failed. So I like this idea, an idea of cementing in that there might be a spy in the camp. That's even more cool and interesting. Even though we know what's going on, I feel like from the Whisperer's perspective, it's just a little bit more cooler and different added into the story. So I really like how they just added that little thread in there between the three leaders. But meanwhile, you got Negan, who hears that and goes to confront Alpha later on. And I really like this back and forth that the two of them have. And you got Negan, who brings up Dwight. And it's just a cool back and forth about how she needs to keep her eyes open, look closer to home for the traitor. Meanwhile, you got Alpha saying, her people know not to trust the enemy, and threatens to pretty much cut off his lower ends if his information is not as good as he claims it is. I like the back and forth again between these two characters, and I think that this was needed in the episode, so I really did like it. But I don't know, the Negan back and forth here was okay. Afterwards, you got Alpha goes to talk to Beta and asks where Gamma is, and he reports that Gamma never made it to the border and he sent out more scouts. And she orders Beta to go find go find Gamma and bring her to her to be punished. So that will pretty much tie into why Beta goes to Alexandria next episode. So that's very cool and interesting to see what goes on there. Even though we pretty much kind of know what's going to happen there. So then you got Alpha, who takes Negan out into the woods, and the two of them get into relationships in the woods. I understand what they're going for here, but to me, I didn't really like it. It felt a tad bit forced and just a little bit more uncomfortable than needed for me. I didn't really need for this to happen. But I did like the little line about how Negan brought up if this is going to be a praying mantis type thing. So I did like that little nod, possibly foreshadowing something to come. But I just didn't feel like we needed it. It just made me feel more uncomfortable than anything else. Overall, I thought this episode was kind of a weak, lackluster premiere. I feel like it was not that great. It was just kind of boring. If I had to give it a grade, I'd probably give it maybe a 6 out of 10. I'd probably never really watch this one again. Just not something I cared too much for. But was okay to return on. But definitely looking forward to see what they do with the rest of the season moving forward. Yeah, guys, that's my review of The Walking Dead Season 10, Episode 9, Squeeze. As always, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and share. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and hit that bell icon. That would miss no more Walking Dead content from me moving forward. And you can go follow me on Instagram and Twitter, which are linked in the About section on my YouTube channel. As always, it's been Vision here with Blind Entertainment, and I'll see you next time.